So first question I have for you guys. You announced your OpenStack service earlier this week, and I was wondering if you could share why you decided to open source your cloud infrastructure.
Yeah, so OpenStack is really not a service. It's a set of software components that are the core of what our service is. So basically everything we do to run our cloud, we've now put in the community to be nurtured and developed and evolved. For us, we have a very basic value proposition, is that we package standard technologies and put great service experiences around them.
Right.
So businesses can consume them and get results. And this new set of technologies that was needed they're just going to be part of the core foundation of what the future of hosting is. And so having a set of standards evolve is something really important to us. And when we looked at it, this was the best way to do it, is to put it in the open. It was the best way to get the best software over the longest term. And there was a need for it in the market. So that's the basics on it, and it's very consistent with our history in terms of how we've used standard-based technologies and packaged them.
Right. So how does NASA's Nebula project fit into it? I noticed that was part of it.
Why don't you talk about that?
So NASA launched their Nebula project about 2 years ago, and they're trying to build a service provider environment for the government, for the scientific community. And we had followed it with interest from the outside. And then about a month ago, 6 weeks ago, they released some of the code under Apache 2 license. We got a chance to look at it, recognized they had a lot of experience in building the cloud. They clearly had some knowledge on where to go, and it was all based on strong operating knowledge. And we spent some time with them and recognized that they had the same view as we did, that standards are important. They want to see standards emerge both in the public space as well as in the government space. So we spent some time talking about how do we put these two projects together. We put the two projects together, and they're obviously a key contributor to this.
How long did it take to bring those two projects together?
It is one of the quickest things I've done in my life. It happened within 4 weeks.
Wow.
Which is pretty amazing. We obviously have a lot of work to do. The first piece of it that we released, the object storage, is out in the market. It's ready to be deployed. We're actually merging the compute roadmaps together right now. We expect to have the first release of that in October. But it's still a very quick time frame.
Yeah, absolutely. So what advantage does open sourcing bring to you guys?
So, we just think it's a better way to build software. We, like NASA, had a problem trying to build these tools at scale. We have a multi-tenancy problem that NASA doesn't have quite as badly as we do, but these are unique problems. There really weren't solutions out there. So we basically were put in the position of we have to go build code. We did a couple acquisitions. We put 40 developers in a separate room and said, go build some of these tools. And when we looked at it, we sort of realized we're going to be in the building software business for a while. And we sort of said, what's the best way to build great software that's going to sustain itself? And particularly since we don't really care about having an intellectual property advantage and competing that way, we just sort of saw this as the best model to build software. And it's already proven itself. We're already getting contributions, we're already getting bugs, and it's already proving itself to build better software.
Right.
To understand the scale of that, by adding NASA, we doubled the size of the development team. We have had a very active developer participation so far. We can't even count the number of patches that have been submitted so far. Our participation in IRC on the project is up to 150 at a time. It's a very, very, for a project that's 4 days old at this point, it's really amazing. So I think when you think about to Rackspace, the value proposition of being able to get more eyes, more developers on improving the code base, and us having access to that code as a hosting offer is very, very powerful.
So what do you think the upside is going to be for developers? What do you think? What is this going to open up for them?
I think a number of things. One is that using cloud services doesn't always fit. Whether you're in a company that has compliance and regulatory issues, or you need latency, so having the ability to deploy your own cloud is something that's very, very important to folks, and something that's needed. And so I think that sort of the ability for anyone to deploy a cloud, that is reliable and works with other clouds, I think is going to be very, very powerful.
Right.
And I think secondly, this is going to be sort of we kind of think of it as sort of a core, a little bit like sort of the LAMP stack was for the web, in the web and Linux. We think that this could be sort of a core where all sorts of products and services can be built around it. So we think there's going to be business opportunity for people to, build monitoring services or build storage engines, or there's lots of things to be built, and some of those are not going to be open source. Some of them will cost money, but that's okay.
Sure.
There's still it'll incent them to give back to the engine, which we think is the most important piece.
So last question I have for you guys. A big issue that's been popping up over the last few days here, particularly in regards to the cloud, is the idea of lock-in.
Yeah.
So how much of a threat do you think lock-in actually is for the cloud, and how do you see that playing out over the next couple of years?
So, I think that there's the standards question is a very difficult one to talk about, and I think that we are not really, our goal is not really to create a new standard that rivals others. It is basically to allow, as standards emerge, to be able to embrace them. This is going to be an evolving thing. And we also sort of think one of the key standards that has to be there is interoperability, is that we really do want to sort of drive that, if you're using other clouds, you can sort of interoperate with this cloud. Now, will that be perfectly possible? We'll see. But there absolutely are lock-in issues around not just APIs and sort of the obvious things, but just the way networking is done, the way image formats are done. All these kinds of things. There's a whole bunch of choices that are made within a cloud, and what we want to try and do is sort of allow you to sort of boil those down and make choices and interoperate with others. So those things, we hope that a lot of those things will be choices you can make, and you can sort of start to replicate some of the ways clouds are built and sort of do what fits best for you.
Great.
I don't know if you have.
No, it's a good answer. Good answer.
It's a good place to end it. Well, thank you very much for joining us today. Appreciate it.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks.